Great. Okay. Welcome to the Trails Committee meeting on January 5th, 2022. I will call the meeting to order at 6:30, and we'll kick off with a roll call for attendance. When I say your name, let us know that you're here. Will Warren.
Here.
Satyendra Sharma.
Yes.
Tom McCoolier.
Yes.
Great. And Kat McKee. Great. Thank you all. Our first agenda item is to approve the meeting minutes from our last meeting on 12/20. I did not have a chance to draft those. And I think, Lucky, you've been out of the country, so we will move that to the next meeting, which is on the 20th, and we'll still be within the period of time before we get a notice that we're out of compliance. So that's okay. And our next item is Trails Committee bylaw status update, the select board recap. So I spoke or reached out to Mark Purple about the bylaw to confirm that the select board agreed to put it forward and in the warrant. And he did confirm that our bylaw request and change from ad hoc to standing will go forward in the warrant. So they met on the 4th. I don't know if anyone's had an opportunity to listen or attend that meeting. I did not, but so it should be on the warrant. Has anyone had an opportunity to look at the meeting, or did you attend?
No, I didn't get a chance to listen. Yeah.
Great. So that's great news that we're moving forward, and we do not have any other steps at this point that we have to do. And for the record, Deborah Costine from SOLF is online, Sam Stivers and Tim Litt as visitors. Welcome, visitors. And please raise your hand if you would like to say anything, and we'll call on you. So any questions or thoughts on the status of the bylaw? I think it's pretty straightforward.
No.
Good to go. That was good news. Okay, next up is Troop 92 Eagle Scout Project, Nick Mcavoy, the Aqueduct Connector permitting update. So everyone knows, or from our last meeting, that trail is built and good to go. Next step is to include what we've been waiting on, is kind of jumping ahead to the next section, is we've been waiting on the estimate from Conservation Works for the boardwalk and the footbridge to be able to reach out to MWA to include that information along with the Aqueduct Trail, the small section of trail we built. Those both are going to go in the same 8M permit amendment. So we're just waiting on that information. I touched base with Conservation Works today. I received a call, and he has been delayed in getting the quote from a third party for the boardwalk materials. So he hopes to get that in the next few days. So when that information comes in, we'll be sending our 8M permit information to MWA, and it will take the approval process of whatever they're looking at these days, a month or two, to get that open. So what we can do in the meantime for the Eagle Scout is I did postpone just a few weeks sharing it publicly, because we were sharing Nathan Boy, his Eagle Scout, with the group. So we wanted to kind of keep it a little separate so they could celebrate and have their moment and fame. So we this week I'll reach out and post. We do have permission from the group to post a congratulations for completing your Eagle Scout. It also gave the Eagle Scout a couple more weeks to submit his workbook and work with the Boy Scout Council to make sure the approvals were in place as they should be. So we'll post that post shortly and congratulate him for his good work. And then we'll probably be able to open that up in the spring once MWA opens that permit up.
So Catherine, just to make sure we're clear, that is off of an existing authorized trail, so you cannot use that. Is that what you're saying? You cannot use it going over to Pine Hill?
Correct. It's currently not open to the public because that section of land is not permitted.
And we're not going to advertise it yet, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
I thought I heard you be opposite, but okay.
Yeah. Thank you for clarifying. And to clarify also, the Trails Committee as a standing committee bylaw article is in the warrant that was closed last evening. Sam Stivers confirmed. Thank you, Sam.
And then town meeting, I think, got postponed. Sam, I did not attend last night's selectmen, but I thought the Board of Health was gonna postpone it a little bit. Has a new date been set? I'm only asking this because we have that warrant that's going on. Is it 2 months, 1 month? So it gives us a little bit more time.
Little more time to get excited. Okay, so we'll let him respond and I'll let you know when we
Okay.
hear from him. Okay, and so next up is the Peninsula Trail. I'm going to skip that because I think that's going to take us through the rest of the evening, and jump ahead to number 6, the trail along Open Channel off Ward Road, the site visit with MWA and Marlboro officials. So that has been scheduled for January 13th. It's a Thursday at 8 a.m. So if anyone on the committee wants to attend, you're welcome to. Do let me know. If we have quorum, we'll need to post a meeting, because we will be, even though it's a site visit, I just want to make sure that we're following open meeting law.
No, we have to post it as a meeting if we have quorum.
Yep. Well,
So
technically for site visits, I don't think you have to post for site visits, but you can't deliberate.
Jim, Mr. Haggerty sent something out. I got the impression that even
That
for
was
those-
when you're meeting, when you're
two boards are
with
meeting,
another
okay.
meeting, when you're attending another public meeting, it's just best to, it's required that you go ahead
Okay,
and host a second meeting or a meeting for your group, so that if you talk.
you know me, I follow all the rules.
No, yes, no. You're
And
good.
when's the site visit? When's the site visit?
It's on Thursday, January 13th at 8 a.m.
8 a.m.
So
Okay.
we're going to meet in Marlboro, and I can circulate the address if you're interested. We're going to meet at the MWA facility. And we have Catherine White from MWA, Sean Nevin, and Eben Nash. And so we're going to meet and discuss the Aqueduct Trail, its location next to the Carroll Treatment Center, and the signage that we need to put up to ensure that trail users are using the correct side. And there's a few areas that need a little more signage. So we're going to be discussing that. And just coincidentally, Marlboro also just recently signed their 8M permit to open up their section. So they've been waiting for that on the other side of where I'm talking about, on the open channel.
So not to continue with this. So on the south side of the aqueduct, the trail permitted side, are we saying that was, when we go into Marlboro, that was not permitted?
It's
Until
not,
now?
it wasn't permitted with an 8M permit. Marlboro's been
Okay.
working on that for a while. Yep. But
Understood.
yeah, so let me know in an email if you're interested in going, and if we have one more, we'll have quorum, so I'll go ahead and post that meeting. And so I think we talked about any questions about what we're meeting about. So along the lines of signage and dog waste signage, I wanted to let the group know that I was informed yesterday by Andy Leahy from DCR that our Route 85 trailhead kiosk had been vandalized. Someone wrote on the plexiglass on top of the DCR dog waste brochure, they wrote the words "bull," you finished the sentence, the word. And they also, or it may be related or may not be related, but coincidentally, there's also a crack in the glass where a blunt object hit the glass and it splintered. So it does not need to be replaced immediately. I've reached out to the Eagle Scout who put that in, Eric Hansen, and asked him for a quote so that I can include that in the information. I did share that with the Southborough Police Department so that they would know that that had happened. There's not much they can do. And I can show you pictures. I'm going to share screens in just a minute.
You're talking about the one right by the cemetery, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So can you see my screen? There's an image up of a map.
Mhm.
Okay. So you see this piece here. This is where something hit it and it splintered. Okay. So right now it's okay to stay that way. It's not ideal, but it's, you know, I think we may not choose to replace another glass. We may just want to just have it open, because it can be a maintenance issue. So the other picture I want to share, let me know if you can see this. I might have to reshare my screen. Can you see a new picture?
No,
Not yet.
Yeah, that's fun. Okay, hang on.
again, I think we can put some resin or adhesive, transparent adhesive to cover this. Whatever crack is there.
Oh, what was that? You could put,
Transparent adhesive, for the
oh, a sealant?
resin. Yeah, sealant.
Oh, okay, good idea. That might be good. Okay, so here we go. So let me know, you can see this, the full kiosk picture now?
So Sati, you think there's a chemical you can rub on top of it?
Yeah, that's the same thing that this car windshield repair.
Oh, yeah,
people
yeah,
use,
yeah.
and the same similar kind of thing can be used.
Is
Okay.
that something you can pick up like at Home Depot or something?
You can. I mean, I saw and as seen on TV on the ad. So I can look it up.
Okay.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I mean, I go to Home Depot all the time, so
Sure.
I don't mind just picking it up and
Yep.
I'll put it on a corner to see if it seals it
Yep.
a little bit. If it doesn't, then we won't do the whole thing because we have
Yep.
to have readability, I guess.
Yeah. So this is, you're seeing the image now. This is what
Yeah.
happened. So that's permanent marker. Apparently you can remove permanent marker. And I went out there last night with my headlamp because I was frustrated and motivated into action. And I took dry erase marker, and you literally trace over it, and the dry erase marker will make it go away. So it's now off. This piece is off, so it's taken care of, but it was frustrating to hear. Andy also said that Marlboro got an email complaint from a resident in Marlboro around the same time, or that he discovered it, about the they were just dissatisfied. They just didn't trust that the science was there that supported why dog waste was bad for backup water supply. So we're not going to get in the argument of that tonight, but I am going to post on Facebook a note that, if our trail users could help us just be aware of anything that might be, suspicious behavior and things, and just encourage everyone as a community to watch out for anything that might be happening like this. And I did speak with the police officers just to make sure that that wasn't going to be a problem for them, and they did not have an issue with us posting on Facebook.
But if somebody is frustrated, they can always write on the writing material that is provided.
Well, that's the funny thing, is we provided a logbook, right?
Right, exactly.
Pencil and some wet ones that they could wipe it off and they could put their notes in there. So it is very frustrating. And I think the disheartening piece about it is that all the hard work, the volunteers, went into that, and the money they raised to pay for that, that someone would, take it upon themselves to vandalize.
Do
something
you
like
think that we should put a small at the bottom, a kind of a banner that this is, please do not vandalize it, or something like it?
I would like to put a banner up that says, we have cameras watching you,
Yeah.
if that helps. No. I think we could tell them to not vandalize, but I don't know that that will help. But anyway, so I don't know how much that will be foreshadowing any issues we have when we start putting up our additional signage throughout town. I think we should just be prepared for some backlash and do our best to help educate those who are willing to listen, and be open to those who are going to want to give us, their earful of why this is a bad idea. And
I wouldn't call it backlash. I just call it anger.
okay,
It's an anger statement.
yeah. So that's that. And then, so now back to 5 Peninsula Trail. So I'm gonna share my screen. And so we've got a grant that we're preparing for, and I have some updates for us. And we have, so let me know when you're seeing an Excel.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So this is just a temporary file that is being worked up to help us identify the next steps that we need to take in order to pull off a grant proposal that's due on February 1st, 2022. So just to recap for Sati, who I think you might have missed our last meeting, we have met with a vendor who will provide us a quote to build a footbridge along Route 30 and a footbridge and a boardwalk that will prevent having to walk along Route 30, and it will connect the Burrs Loop, the Aqueduct, and the Bay Circuit Trail. So 3 regional trails and multiple communities. This is, you know, what we're doing it for. So we're waiting on the estimate. It's going to be a large number. We talked a little bit about that in our last meeting. So basically it was roughly, he just quoted me again today, like the footbridge may be between 60 and 70, and then the boardwalk could be anywhere between 50 to 60,000. So it is going to be, and that doesn't count the fencing and signage that we have already quoted and went through the community preservation funds for. So we're going to use those funds as matching funds for this grant. And so one of the reasons of the cost of the bridge, and we talked about this last time, but just to recap, is that we were choosing a fiberglass product versus a pressure treated, for the fact that it will last 75 to 100 years and the maintenance is almost zero. Is that a good representation, Tom, of what he said? And so it's a little more costly
Yes.
up front, but because we're a small committee and we have a small budget and we're a small town with a small budget for this stuff, that we thought it would be better to try to do the higher grade product up front, and it would over time it'd be more cost effective.
So this is something beyond the capabilities of the Eagle Scouts. Okay.
Yes,
Because,
and
yeah.
And so we also chose to go with a vendor, an outside vendor, because we are going to be working in a wetland area if we have permission from the Conservation Commission to do so. So this group has experience doing that, and they would be, I mean, it's really looking at someone with expertise who can help do it correctly, and also with the eye and, you know, understanding of keeping preservation of the environment in mind, rather than not saying our Eagle Scouts don't have a mind for that, but it's more about the experience they bring to the table and the benefit that we would get from that, and the management of the project. It would be much easier and probably more effective to have a vendor who's used to building trail bridges and boardwalks to handle a project like this.
And this is all the company does. They do trails, create trails, boardwalks, bridges. So they are micro focused on this. So they know all the rules. Their website actually did some work in the Metro West area, I think in Dover or Sherburne or right around there, but they do all over the state. I saw some of their pictures of their stuff. It's really good work.
Yeah. So we have, so that we're waiting on that estimate, and unfortunately, it would have been beneficial. Our very next step is to meet with the Concom tomorrow, Conservation Commission. So we did a site visit with Melissa, and what we were looking for is, we wanted her to take a look at where it was near the wetlands. Now these wetlands are, it's not there's no special species or rare species, and it's an area that's really right next to Route 30. So all of the runoff is going into this area. And the reason I bring this up is I'm just saying that it's not a coveted area that's, you know, it needs to be protected, and we need to be mindful of how we're working in there. But I hope that some of that will lend benefit. It will prove beneficial to the Conservation Commission being open to this type of project there. So our first meeting with Concom is tomorrow. And in order to do the work later on, we will need a notice of intent to be in this area. So that's why we're involving the Concom. We do not need the notice of intent before the grant is due. So that's great news. So I'm planning to be in front of the Conservation Commission. We're on the agenda tomorrow to introduce the concept, talk about some questions. I was hoping to provide them, with some information from the estimate. So we're going to do our best providing them with a little bit of background information. We're also going to invite them to speak with Priscilla Ryder. She's the conservation officer, sustainability officer in Marlborough. She was the one that oversaw most of the boardwalks that they installed in Marlborough for the Burrows Loop. And she has extensive experience doing this and doing it in a right way that doesn't negatively impact the environment. So although she can't really attend the meeting because it's going to be a really long meeting with lots of hearings. So we're going to be at the end of that, and it's not really fair for her to kind of sit and wait for 4 hours. So she confirmed that she would be open to receiving calls from the Conservation Commission if they had specific questions. She provided some notice of intent information that we can use for our Concom. One of our objectives is to help educate them on the types of materials that we're using, and how we can, minimize the impact on the environment. And something Priscilla really brought up in our conversation was the good news, and she showed some before and after pictures, is they installed the boardwalk using the helical piers, which is, it's a minimally invasive way of installing a boardwalk in a wetland area, and the wetlands have recovered pretty well after. So the before and after pictures, I think, will be really helpful for Concom. So I'll stop there and just see if there's any questions on that piece.
The last point that I'll make before anybody else is we were lucky that I think DCR or MWRA flagged that area of wetlands. So when Melissa went out, we noticed it was already flagged by I'm not sure about the type of person that flagged wetlands, but it was already delineated and stuff. So she got exactly a good impression of where the wetlands were marked off and stuff. And we were definitely outside of any disturbance of the wetlands.
Yeah. The tricky thing is that I asked MWRA if they had a wetlands plan. They have not provided one. So I did go out, the quote that Melissa received to have to delineate those wetlands was around $1,400. That's a lot more than we don't have any money, but that's a lot more than we can spend on something like this. So what I asked her, she asked DPW if they had a GPS that we could use to help mark those delineations. They did not. So I used my Garmin Phoenix to get the GPS points, and I also compared it with All Trails. It's not scientific, but at least we have a map with those markings flagged on it, and we'll use that. And the state GIS Oliver, I think it's now MS Mapper or something, we'll use that to kind of flag those and provide that to the Concom. And I know that they want specific mapping and such, but I'm hoping that given the delineation flags are still up and the information that we'll provide, that it will be enough. If they require more, if they require a site visit from an outside consultant, we're going to be, we can't spend $1,400. So I'm not sure where we'll end up with that. So that's that. So second to that is Framingham. So in addition to Southborough's Conservation Commission, we need to involve Framingham Parks and Rec and Framingham Conservation Commission. So I spoke with Jim Snyder. He's the Parks and Rec from Framingham's, he's the director. And he was open to the concept. He did say that they were short-staffed, and a lot of trails work and projects have kind of been pushed aside because of COVID. So I offered to help him in every way that we could possibly help him, as far as like what we'd be looking for ultimately is a letter of support from both departments, Conservation Commission and the Parks and Rec, to include in our grant, so that we have their support and permission. So whatever Conservation Commission meetings we need to attend, attend and or meeting site visits we need to schedule. That would be our objective. And I offered to send him kind of a skeleton letter of support. So all he would have to do is modify it, make it his own, as a way of helping him get to the finish line if that was a problem for him, because he did sound like there's a little bit more going on than would warrant them being able to give us a lot of help. So I'll send him the information tonight, and if we need to do a site visit, try to do something next week. So if anyone wants to join, I can share that information. And again, if we have quorum, we'll post a meeting. Any questions on the Framingham side of things? Okay.
Just to make sure it's clear, did we determine part of the bridge is actually in the town of Framingham?
Right. So I think the town line for Framingham, when you come from Southborough, you're heading into Framingham, when you're going over that bridge, the sign right now is on the Framingham side, right? So I think the footbridge would go over and it starts in Southborough and ends in Framingham. However, Bill Fadden, when he was doing some site visits, he said that sign's on the wrong side of the bridge and it should be on this other side. So I don't know if that's true. Then the town line is a little bit closer and more of the footbridge would be in Framingham. So where that exact town line is a little blurry, but they are involved in that way. And he's very supportive of trails and such. And when we did a site visit last year, he was very open to it. So anyway, and he's done site visits there before, so he's familiar with the history of the conversation about how to get across Route 30 there. So related to that, I would like to talk to MWRA. So we have a verbal from MWRA to put a footbridge and boardwalk in, and we do have that site visit next week with Sean. And I do want to just touch base one more time and say, we are writing this into the grant and we're going to ask for a letter of support from you. Are you okay with that? And get a yes, another yes. And we're doing the same thing with DCR. DCR, can we do a site visit with you and look at the gate at the side of Central and Route 30? And we'd like to move this gate back so that we can have this part of the trail can be accessible and there's more parking, handicap parking. And we need them to say yes and write a letter of support to that effect. So those two things also need to happen in the short term. As far as other letters of support, and this is where I want us to think about like what other commissions, boards, and committees in town we might want to consider to the list that you're looking at. So right now we would have the Select Board, Recreation Commission, Historical Commission, Trailblazers, we've already talked about that, and Conservation Commission. Can anyone think of any other board, commission, or committee that we'd want to include?
Well, you opened up the moving the fence back at Central Street because of ADA.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, that's exactly right, ADA. It's called the
Okay.
Accessibility Something Committee. Does anyone know the proper name?
I do not, but I can go on the website.
Okay. Thank you for that. I wasn't thinking. Oh, Solve. Yes, Deb, I got you, Solve. You're down here under, where are you?
Southborough Open Land Foundation.
Yeah, I've got them here. So thank you for calling that out. Southborough Public Accessibility Committee. Thank you is the name of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
great.
there's nothing called ADA, correct?
Right, but that's accessibility is code.
ADA
Okay.
is the standard actually. So
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay. So anything else pop up in your mind? And if you think of something, let me know.
Okay.
Okay. And we're involving historical because they were also involved in the CPC application because we're going to be including some history and we want them to help us vet the information that we're providing. So Michael Weishen has been very supportive in the past, and so is the other committee members, and they participated in the guided hike that we did on September, which was nice. Okay, so if you guys think of anything else, let me know. So what that means is we'll be reaching out to these boards, commissions, and committees and getting on there, sending an intro email stating what we'd like to accomplish with a little brief bio of the project and asking to be on the next committee meeting. Ooh, EDC.
EDC, yeah.
Thank you. Totally forgot. And we've already asked EDC, we've already presented to them. We just need to tee that up and get that out there. So all of that will be done this week because I want to give them enough time to be able to say, just to produce the letters and ask any questions and us to present if we have to. Okay. State entities, MWA and DCR, I don't think there are any other entities that we need. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
And then other towns and communities, so Framingham Parks and Rec and Framingham Conservation Commission are the two main ones that we've already discussed. And then Burroughs Loop Trail Community. So this is something that Priscilla had mentioned, and it was a great idea. So we received support letters, if you remember, last year from all of these communities when we were trying to encourage DCR to move forward with the public access plan. So we're going to go back to these communities and ask them if they'll do a letter of support for our grant, because what we're trying to demonstrate within the grant, which is really important to demonstrate, is that you have multiple communities involved, and these are regional trails. So we are involving all of these communities because the Burroughs Loop is 33 miles, right? Bay Circuit Trail is much longer, and then the Aqueduct Trail, which overlaps much of this. So these are Northborough, Westborough, Marlborough, Sudbury Valley Trustees, and Southborough Open Land Foundation. Thank you, Debbie, and Bay Circuit Trail Alliance. I thought, since we're going to be linking to them. So if anything else comes to mind, let me know. Okay, so moving along, we
Is there trustees?
yeah, that's a good question.
I don't believe the trustees have any part of this, though.
Yeah, they're you know, a group that have trails in town like Chestnut Hill, but I mean, I don't know if
Do they actually meet? I'm trying to see it. Is there, I mean, in our Southborough website, there's no trustees committee. That's the whole state organization, right?
Right. So I mean,
So
we
it's
could,
a private organization, right? That's
Yeah.
nothing to do with.
I'll put them down with a question mark and we'll kind of sit on it and see how it sits. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay, so when we went through our CPC application last fall, we received 3 quotes from sign companies, and we also received fence quotes, right? So now it's been over a year. Those quotes are generally good for 90 days, and then you have to re-quote. And now that the cost of everything has gone up, it will be good to get re-quotes. So I reached out to the sign companies, and we received 1 new quote. The other 2 I have to tee up again. They haven't responded, but the sign company that did Ashland's Marathon Park, which we specifically asked Ashland about because they have really great signs that have lasted for a long time. So they provided a new quote. Arrow Fence, who was the fence company, a contractor that we used for our CPC application, also got back to us and can schedule another site visit. So we've got that lined up. And then this next step we already talked about, getting confirmation from Framingham. So this is just a random list of tasks, not in an order of priority, and just kind of a brain dump right now. Talked about the site visit, talked about MWA permitting and the Conservation Commission meetings. And also, so we have to understand how the procurement of these vendors is going to work because of the cost of the project. The cost of the project is going to make us go out to bid, right? So I met with Melanie, our new procurement officer in town, a couple of weeks ago, I can't remember, and asked a ton of questions. In addition, one specifically was we wanted to make sure that there was no conflict of interest with the vendor that we're using for our estimate for the boardwalk and the footbridge, if that vendor then bids on the project, right? And he asked us to specifically qualify that and make sure that there wasn't a conflict of interest, because every procurement officer is different. And if there is there any paperwork that we need to fill out, like a disclosure form or something? And she said there is not any conflict of interest. That wasn't an issue. She was running all of this by Mark Purple. And my very specific question to her was, okay, what we want to make sure does not happen is that, and we're not trying to control something we can't control, but the reality of it is we're putting forth a grant proposal that has multiple project scopes in the grant proposal, and not one vendor on the planet can do all of it. So I understand that from the bid process that you can't split up a project into components and then have it bid on micro bids. That's like against the rules, but there has to be a way to work with multiple vendors when the vendors are specifically qualified to do their job. For example, a fencing contractor is not going to be able to help us with signage or building a boardwalk, right? They're not going to be able to manage that project. So how do we work with that if we have one large project that has different project components? How do we deal with the bid process? So Melanie was getting, she got all the information we talked about and was running the flagpole, and I'm going to be meeting with her in the next couple of days to understand how that might influence the way we write our grant, or anything we need to know in advance of writing the grant that would help shed light or insight into how we should proceed. So that was a lot, and I'll just stop and see if anyone has any questions on that piece. Okay, great. So there's a lot to do, and we have a couple of hurdles. I think we can make it. It's going to take a lot of work, but I think if we can get communications out this week, and you know, the one thing I think our biggest challenge, as I see it, will be Conservation Commission, and I think tomorrow will shed some light on what we need there. But I hope that they will just provide us the insight and information we need to be able to get the information to them that would make this a possible project, because a lot of good can come from, you know, we're hoping to put signage up along the boardwalk to help explain about wetlands, and it's a great opportunity to educate the community. We've also, I met with Open Space. Ooh, I didn't put that in there. I met with Open Space, Freddie Gillespie. I'm messing up her name. I'm sorry, Freddie. Thank you. To talk about invasives and native plantings. So to help identify what invasives may be in the area, can we, as part of a mitigating strategy, help remove some of those to improve the area, since we're going to be in there doing some disturbance? And can we also incorporate some native plantings to benefit the community and the environment and the pollinators? So Freddie met with me, and she's going to provide a plant list that we can reference that might work for that area. And so that's another, we might want a letter of support from Open Space, actually, as part of this. Oh, it's preservation, isn't it? Okay. So
in the community part, just so the B ward will be the.
Say one more time.
B ward in the Burroughs Loop community.
B Walt.
Yeah.
Well, so that's a proposed trail, and that's Don Byrne. And I believe I reached out to Don. He's part of Westboro. So when I reached out to Don, because he was a big part of the Burroughs Loop development as well, he pointed me to Westboro Community Land Trust. So that would cover that. Yeah. So that's all I have right now. And then, you know, obviously we have the application itself and some writings and things like that. And we did reach out to EDC's Marika. We had asked her if she could be a kind of an overviewer of our grant application, just to kind of help us, you know, with her experience and success that she's had, provide a few tips to, and be a second set of eyes on how we're putting that together. And so I can tee that up just to let her know that's coming, and make sure that she gets something within enough time to review it that works for her schedule. Okay. Okie doke. I think that's really all we have.
Actually, we have a hand raised. Tim,
Oh, thank you.
hand is raised.
Okay, let's see what we got. I'm going to stop sharing now because my controls go to the other window. Thank you, hand raised, Tim. Okay, I'm going to allow you to talk, Tim. You should be good now.
Hi. Thanks, Tom, for noticing. I was just going to mention that at least where I've run into things where you have multiple components of a project, what typically happens is you put out to bid the project, and then someone becomes the general contractor, and he then does subcontracts for the other things. The problem with this is they add 20% profit on top of the costs.
Can
But
I
that
be
may
a
be what
contractor?
a
Can I
general
be-
contractor will tend to do that.
Yeah.
But that may be what the state system is expecting.
Yeah, the only thing with this project, it's two completely separate ends, besides the signage. I mean, you have the boardwalk, the trail, the switchback, the boardwalk, the bridge, all one side of town by Framingham. Then you got the fencing completely off of Central Street. So I don't see a general contractor doing both. I mean, they're so
Well,
separate.
that part, it sounds like you can split, into two projects. I mean, the fact that the money's coming from one place doesn't matter, but the other things that you mentioned that sort of go together.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's a great way to go. I'm just saying that when you talk to procurement people, that's the way these things tend to show up.
Okay.
Because
Thank-
because you want to have, someone who's responsible for delivering.
Right.
So then, that person or that company, whatever it is, becomes responsible for managing the project, for managing the budget, and for, getting the subcontractors in at the right time with the right stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Okay.
Don't take it as a place that I think we really want to go. But
Well, it's good to know what could happen. And I'm not trying to skirt the system, but I really would rather have a streamlined approach and not have to spend more money because of a procurement issue. Thank you, Jamie.
well, I mean, it may be it may be that you want to present yourself as, the committee is the general contractor.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly could do that.
That might be one way of explaining it in a way that procurement people are receptive to.
Okay.
Hmm.
Mhm.
I mean, it's certainly the case, when you work on your house, you either hire a general contractor who hires all the subcontractors who do all the stuff, or you take responsibility for it. And when you do it for your house, you lose certain rights to
Cover.
Yeah.
contractor malfeasance funds or something, but that's the way it's set up. So, when you pull the permit to do something for your house, again, it's a permit that does for the work, for the overall work. Either you're the general contractor or you hire someone, and then the trades, the electrician, the plumber, the foundation guy, the driveway guy, the roofing guy, whatever it turns out to be.
Mhm.
I think on this one, I agree with you with the general contractor, but we have two general contractors, one to build the house and the other one to do the landscape. And normally the general contractor to build houses really is not a good general contractor to do landscape design and stuff like that. Again, I'm compartmentalizing in my mind, especially with the fence and I agree with you. If we have a company that wants to bid on this and they're general contractor and they do the subs and their subs are all certified with wetland building, perfectly fine.
Well, it's not perfectly fine if they add 20,000, 20%.
I know. I mean, I meant the responsibility of being general contractor to do the job.
Yeah. But I mean, if you
Barring
have
the cost is out of the picture right now, but yes, if they want to come in within the budget. And I think we just definitely need guidance from our procurement person on this.
Yeah, I'm not trying to push that approach. What I'm saying is that when you talk to the procurement folks, you may want to explain the project in terms of you're acting as the general contractor for these subcontractors. And the other part, and I agree with you, Tom, is, if you have these two pieces that are geographically distinct, they're two different projects.
Right. Yeah.
For
Thank
what
you.
it's worth.
Yeah,
Happy
and
New Year.
really the fence is probably be done in a day or two. I mean, it's such a small part compared to the other one. The boardwalk and the switchback and the bridge, that's the big project.
Mhm. It's going to be beautiful if we can build one. I'm so excited. Yeah, Southborough residents would really enjoy it, I believe. And the community would too. Be a great addition to solve the Route 30 problem that's been a problem for years, 10 or more years.
No, the other problem is to bring this trail to downtown, and then we needed our own bridge across the reservoir.
Yeah, yeah. I still like the boat and the string idea. Just pull yourself across.
What gondolas? Gondolas?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Except we're not allowed in the water, so never.
Yes, you cannot.
Well, the fire department's getting rid of a perfectly good boat.
Oh, wait, a perfectly good boat with bad seams, right? I thought I read.
Well,
Yeah, I
it's
read that
interesting
too.
if you read the bid announcement, they say it has minor seam leaks.
Does
But
that mean you're gonna?
but when they went to get a replacement, it was a life safety critical issue. I'm a little confused.
I guess it's the big difference between a slow leak and a fast leak.
Okay. Hey,
Whatever.
on the topic of grants, we were approached by Jason Malinowski of Capital Planning. And he copied Chief Achilles on this email. I'm gonna share it with the committee now. Hold on. And let's see, what is it? There it is. Okay, so he had approached, he's like, the fire chief approached Capital Planning about the potential acquisition of a utility terrain vehicle, which is just like a ATV, as part of this year's capital plan. And I believe that type of vehicle, and the reason he's reaching out to us would be to make accessibility, being able to access trails, for if there's an emergency. And so the type of vehicle is not typically funded by grants available for the public safety agencies. So he asked us if we're aware of any grant opportunities that we could apply for, and if not, to continue to be on the lookout for future grant opportunities. So it's not, I haven't yet responded. Oh, he has an attachment here, so that's good. Let me just see what this looks like. Oh. And when I looked at, ooh, it's like $35,000. Okay, that's it. Anyway, so I wanted to bring it up to the committee because I attended a webinar a couple weeks ago about grant opportunities and such. And so I don't know that this doesn't seem like it aligns with our grant currently, because the amount of money that our grant is going to end up being, and we do want to be successful and not pile everything into there. So there may be another way though. And also Andrew Dennington from the select board reached out and asked if there were any other projects that the trails might be working on where some ARPA money and such might be used to fund projects. So I did, we can explore that a little bit more next meeting, but I did ask for clarification if he had any resources. I know we have an ARPA committee, but if he had any resources to help define the categories, like in a one-page document where we didn't have to dissect the entire program, about how money can be spent, so we could start imagining what might, what projects would be able to work, and if any of this could fit in. So I bring that up. It's all related to funding and such, and there is a lot of different money out there. So if there's an opportunity to look at a larger wish list to see what might happen, crossing Route 30, for example, Tom, on the reservoir side, or what you're referring to earlier, that might be those types of things. So
So if I understand this right, and let's separate our boardwalk and all that stuff. I think it's a good idea if there are grants that the Trails Committee can apply for some kind of trail vehicle to rescue a hiker that broke their leg or some kind of injury on the trail.
Yeah.
I think we should be all for that.
Yeah.
If there is a grant specifically around trail rescue type of activities, and I think that'd be a great thing to have.
Who is going to operate that?
The fire department will operate it,
Oh, okay.
but they can't, again, through their own grant process, they can't do it. But if we can have a grant to buy the machinery,
yeah,
and I'm speaking, I'm putting words in his mouth. The fire chief said that they would utilize this equipment to do a rescue on the trails.
Well, maybe you could come up with a piece of equipment that would also, tow a trailer with tools for working on the trails. Make it a combined,
Wait a minute.
a multi-purpose
Wait a
item.
minute. I have a little wagon that we use. It's great.
Well, a sail and
It's a beautiful pull behind.
It's an all-terrain wagon with really tough wheels that we use. So
Also-
yeah.
as long as it'll handle, a 200-pound person, you're probably all set.
Yeah.
Ah, easy.
So I do have a video, a recording of that webinar, if there are any volunteers who would want to take a listen to it and take some notes and maybe see if there's any opportunities out there.
I mean,
How
I'll be
long
more
is
than
the
willing to do
Like
the,
an
sorry,
hour.
Sati, go ahead.
It's an
No,
hour.
sorry. You can go ahead. I was just telling how what's the length of the video.
Yeah, it's about an hour.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
I mean, I think we all should look at it and
Yep.
collectively, if we see anything,
Yeah.
a grant that could fit that, I think it'd be
Yeah.
good.
And I think there's a lot to unpack because there's different organizations that present, including Amanda Lewis with the Mass Trails Recreation Grant. So it'd be great you can see her and kind of understand what how they work on a few things. But if anyone were interested in taking some notes on behalf of the committee, I know it's an effort, but I'm a little short on time. And so it would be great if we could tag team and someone take a look at that. And what I don't want to do is I don't want to miss any opportunities just because we're busy doing this opportunity. And the timing of everything is always so particular that if we could get on top of that and just have some insight into future things, that's all. So I'll circulate it, and if you can take a look and get back to us next meeting. that'd be
So
great.
I'm just looking at the ARPA committee itself. It seems like this is a new committee.
It is
I don't know
new.
if-
It's
Okay,
new. Yeah, they were given the task of finding ways of how to spend the money that's already come to the town.
I understand,
Yeah, it probably doesn't hurt for us to attend one of those meetings and be like, is there a bucket? Do you see a bucket? Because when Andrew shared the buckets, it wasn't quite apparent where one would fit. And so I believe there may be some creative thinking.
Oh, I don't even think you have to be creative thinking. If there's ARPA funds designated for rescue, I think we should sponsor a application for the grant or the charge for it.
Okay.
One thing I'd be careful about with equipment, I always ask the question, where's it going to live and who's going to maintain it and what's it going to cost to keep it going?
Yeah.
Because we've certainly had cases in the past where public safety had a hovercraft, I think, for a while that couldn't be maintained, didn't really get used, didn't have a good place to live, and eventually got dumped. So I'm not against the idea. As I say, if you can make it have multiple purposes, that helps. But you also need to make sure that there's a plan that says, just like when you build a trail, someone's got to mow it, someone's got to keep it clear. Same thing happens with machinery.
Yep. True.
Mm.
Okie doke. So I think that wraps up all that we have on our agenda this evening. So we have already on the calendar, our next meeting is the 20th, Thursday, the 20th at 6:30. So we don't have to schedule that. And so I think the idea is by the 20th, technically we should have, what we should have is a rough draft of our grant proposal by the 20th, as I cringe inside thinking of achieving that goal. Because then our next step would be, we vote and feel comfortable with where we're at with that. And then we give EDC a chance to take a look at that. And we'll probably, and we're also meeting with the Concom on the 27th. So there's a follow-up meeting that may need to happen. I would expect it to happen. So there's going to be a few little last minute things. I don't know if it will require a second or third meeting from us, but we should just remain open to it. And if we have to, we can take the month of February off, since we have had so many meetings. And if we do have to squeeze in a third in January, that would, warrant maybe a little tiny break. But it's been great meeting with you guys. Yeah, I know you love it too. So, should anyone want to make a motion to adjourn?
Tom?
No.
I know two of you.
Well, I can make a motion.
To adjourn and second,
I'll second it.
thank you. And we'll do a roll call vote. Satyendra Sharma,
Yes.
Tom McCoolier,
Yes.
and Kat McKee. Yes, calling the meeting at 7:26. Great. Well, thank you, Debbie, Tim, and Sam for joining us, and Satyendra and Tom for your help tonight. And
Hey, Catherine, can you stay on after the recording stops? I got a quick question to ask you. Satya, you can stay. It's just,
Okay, sure. Yeah.
I'm
it's
gonna,
nothing to do about the meeting.